Debbie, you're going to do a presentation on state and federal grants?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
We have before you an action item to accept basically approval of the federal program of projects and the submittal of all grant applications. And we have resolutions attached here that when we go to the board, Mr. Zimmett will be reading to us. And this has to be completed, the applications for the federal program of projects that we just had the hearing on, by June 30th. And this will allow the money to come in for our next fiscal year. We have in there $14.2 million from our formula funding, which we call 5307 funds. We also have $7,396 for Section 5337. Section 5339, we have $1,750,080. That will be used to go towards buses. And we have our 5310 projects. That's money that comes from the federal government through the state. And we've applied for $89,103 through FDOT on that. We also have a host of FDOT grants in here. We have actually, I've listed the very first FDOT grant I have listed here, we are not going to be accepting. It's $5.9 million over 3 years for a downtown to downtown express. That requires a match, and as we just heard in the Finance Committee, we're not going to put ourselves at risk for money that we do not have. So we had to turn that grant down. All of the grants are very similar to what we've received in the past. Our block grant, $4.7 million. That has gone up about $387,000. We have money in there for our 100X Express, the 100X Express extension, our 300X, our Curlew Road connector, and we also have $9.5 million that FDOT will be providing towards our bus rapid transit, for a total of $14,994,509. We also have in this action item our TD grants. Our annual TD grant of $3,673,937 has gone down by $170,566. We also have funding in there for our nonprofit agencies, as well as what we used to call Mobility Enhancement Grant, the MEG grant, now has a new name, Innovation and Service Development Grant, and we have $300,000 in there for transit disadvantaged trips to veterans. So altogether, we've got a lot of money coming in from the federal and state sources, and we're seeking approval to move forward on the application and acceptance of the grants.
Second? Do we have a second?
I had a question. I'll wait till
Did you? No, that's all right. I mean, were you seconding the motion?
Well, all right, I'll second the motion and ask a question.
Yes, please.
Okay. Can we go back to the grant that we turned down?
Yes, $5.9 million. It's operating funds over 3 years for a downtown St. Pete to downtown Tampa express route. And it requires matching funds, so we would have to match that 50%. That's money that we don't have. We're not operating the service now, and we have many other things of priority on our list at this time. It's just sad that we have to be able to do that, because that would be allowing another avenue for perhaps increasing ridership.
Right, that's okay.
So is that a one-to-one match or
Is 50% match at 50%?
Yes, so
50% of what they're giving?
Yes.
Would be a-
Yeah. Was there any money available from the Hillsborough side on that? Or the Tampa side?
No, that's money that they offered to PSTA.
Okay.
Yeah, Hillsborough does not run service into Pinellas County anymore.
Right, but it was city to city, right?
Right.
Okay. Has anybody ever surveyed that to find out if it's reliable?
Well,
Would be-
our ridership on the 2 express routes, or at least the 100X that goes across the Gandy Boulevard,
Right.
Gandy, is like 50-50. The ridership is equal.
Yeah.
Tampa people coming here and Pinellas people going there.
Okay.
The 300X that goes across the Howard Franklin is a little bit more Pinellas, especially since we extended it to the airport, is now mostly Pinellas going that way. But
Okay.
But the 100X as it runs right now will not be affected, correct? That was just additional service.
It's not being
This was,
affected.
this was, T-BARTA has, is pursuing a whole plan to run express service using the shoulders and the
Mhm.
future express lanes connecting the whole region on the interstate, and this was sort of
Precursor. Pilot?
or a start to that,
Mhm.
for running express buses on the shoulder in some areas, from downtown St. Pete over to Tampa. The problem is that FDOT has a whole bunch of different kinds of grants. They have this certain type of transit funding that we've had for a very long time called service development grants, which are readily available. It seems like that is the easiest kind of funding to acquire, but it's the most problematic funding because it is 50/50.
Yeah.
And it only lasts for 3 years, and then the DOT expects you to come up with your own money to fund it from there on out. So what we try to do is if we have a new service of some kind, and it has to be for new service, but FDOT is not listening. We try to identify anything that we could define as new, that we're already gonna fund. But this would be something that we just cannot,
Okay.
we can't come up with $5 million of match.
This is kind of a wild sort of off the wall notion. How does the Cross Bay Ferry tie into something like this? I mean, are these funds available through
Yes.
PSTA in a partnership with PSTA to potentially offer the Cross Bay Ferry as a connector to downtown?
Well,
As that service is
right
looking
now,
to-
the city of St. Petersburg received one of these service development grants,
Mhm.
3-year, 50/50 type grants, from the DOT that the partners that the city of St. Petersburg has sort of placed, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, and the city of Tampa, that lowered the local contribution because FDOT is paying, at least for the first 3 years, 50% of the cost of that ferry.
I'm just, as we're looking, St. Pete's looking to, and Hillsborough County looking to increase that service to being year-round, to more frequent
Yeah.
transit, more frequency. I didn't know if any of these funds, and if there was a way for us to help partner with those folks to make that dream a reality.
But if they've already funded it for 2 years, they're not.
Well, they funded a partial seasonal usage, which is over now for this season.
Yeah, I think.
With
what-
the hope and the plans to try to make that more robust. I'm wondering, as an organization, as PSTA is concerned, as we're working on, transit, this is also it's a different form of transit, but something we may be able to have a part in helping them secure funding because we're more established, connecting to them, asking Art to connect on the other side so people can get around. So I'm not sure how that might fit in. And I realize that we don't necessarily have the matching money just sitting around doing nothing, but you hate to lose grants for services like that as a community we're saying we want to expand, we want to offer.
Yeah.
Just a notion.
No, it's a good idea. I would think they already received a grant the new service of, what did they do, basically the weekends, this last,
No, we did.
some weekdays. Any additional service development grants, which they could probably get, and we could certainly help get that from the feds, as far as applying for the grants and stuff, could only be for something new and additional to what they already are doing.
Okay.
But yeah,
And I realize that, that's why I was saying that they're looking at currently expanding that to full year service and more frequency. So it is a new
that would be new.
service, so
Yeah.
I'll thank you.
They already know that, and they're probably applying for it themselves then.
I just wanted to know what part we could play in help making, as part of our transit plans, potentially being a partner in making that happen.
Right. Okay. All that's something that if we decided we wanted, so did they came to us and said, will you do this downtown to downtown? That wasn't our idea.
Well,
Well,
I
that's
think it
just-
was part of this whole master plan that T-BART is working on, and then they approached us.
So,
They approached Cassandra.
we have to apply for grants years in advance. And we have a plan for what we apply for based on our vision for the system. So in this year, our current application was for the Central Avenue BRT. Again, planning a few years out for when those things are operational. So we applied for this grant 2 or 3 years ago. And at that time, that was part of our regional system. It was something that FDOT was interested in, and they are starting their bus on shoulder construction project in maybe another 6 months. And so our current Route 100X will be able to use that. And so this would be an expansion. This would have been an expansion of that service, and at least until it breaks at Gandy, so the new part would be to the airport. So this would be an increased service to the airport, the use of the bus on shoulders. It was a perfect fit, and that's why the application was so successful. It is unusual to get this much money from the Department of Transportation for service development. This is the highest value service development grant that I have ever seen from them. So, until it's Central Avenue BRT, and that will be bigger. But this is $1 million in this current year, $2 million the next year, and $2 million the following year, for a total of $5 million.
Cassandra's not happy that we're turning down the money, as you can tell.
Right, and because it was, I mean, I read about it in the media that this was hoping to be a reality. It vanished. But,
Sorry for letting my emotions come out in my presentation style.
Try to control yourself.
Do we need to make a motion on each resolution, or is that just covered, that agenda item?
I think we try to make it one big agenda item so we can make one motion.
Okay.
We could make one motion, I think, at this meeting, but I think, as she said, the resolutions require Alan to read them and then do several ones at the board meeting. Or one.
So we already have a motion and a second.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
So is this
We didn't hear
something you
any of the
brought up
motion.
in your meetings with,
Oh, thank you.
Ellis?
Yeah, then we're meeting again this afternoon. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, I'm just thinking.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. So we need to elect a committee chair and a vice chair?
We do.
Just this time of year?
We need to, there are 2-year terms that can be renewed, but the
Don't need to
committee
be.
decides its own chairman.
So is this the entire committee?
This is the entire committee.
well, I haven't been approved by the
Well,
board.
technically, he's a rogue for
Right.
this
Yeah,
meeting.
he's a rogue anyway.
Yeah.
Until the board meeting, he'll be ratified.
So we have 4 members?
We have 4. Commissioner Justice, he was on, but he resigned the committee at last board meeting, and
Yeah.
Commissioner Cox volunteered to serve
As a regular.
as a regular member.
Okay.
And then, Commissioner Finger is an alternate.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't mean anything by that.
Sure.
Trying to remember that. Okay, well, who wants to be committee chair?
I move that the existing committee chair be reelected to that post.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, vice chair, who's our vice chair right now, you?
I may be, I'm not sure.
Rachel, who's the vice
Rachel,
chair?
who's the
Yes,
vice-
you are.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, good.
I'll
All right. All right, is that do we have a second on that?
I can't nominate myself. so-
I nominate the current vice chair to remain serving as vice chair.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right,
All right, and congratulations to
mm.
Commissioner Cox.
right. Soon to be. So we need to approve our minutes from April 17th, which I don't see there.
I don't have
Motion to approve?
I'm sure they're.
Second.
I read it.
Okay, good. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Future meeting subjects?
Next month,
What happened?
this, I know is perplexing to the Finance Committee of PSTA annually, but since now we have multiple members of the Finance Committee on this committee as well. Next month, we will turn our attention to the FY20 PSTA budget. The idea is the Planning Committee looks to the future, and the Finance Committee makes sure that we're operating in the present. That's why I approved all the different contracts. The budget is a future-looking financial plan for the organization. So that'll be the main topic on next month's agenda, is the draft 2020 budget presented in June. July, then, we do the trim notice, 0.75 notice, and then we have our regular public hearings on the 2020 budget.
And those are set already.
Those are set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for next month.
Yep. Regarding the Central Avenue BRT, I don't know if this will probably go to the planning
What
committee.
happened?
On the Central Avenue BRT, we are going to the city of St. Petersburg with an interlocal agreement in June. So that will probably come to the planning committee for our side of approval on their funding. They're providing $4 million of funding for the Central Avenue BRT, and that agreement is going to city council when? What day now?
It's in middle of June.
Okay. To the St. Pete City Council. June 13th, I think? Yeah. So we'll probably have that on the agenda too.
So what happened at the meeting last night, you said? St. Pete meeting?
Officially, the city commission tabled or deferred the interlocal agreement that had been worked out and recommended by the city manager and PSTA. They deferred it to a workshop on the 28th of May, but there was substantial public comment in opposition to everything.
So what were their main objections?
I would describe it as a unending number of questions about the value of public transportation, the need for any public transportation, the concerns about the type of people that ride public transportation to their community.
Seriously?
I mean, those were public comments. The public comments were all over the place.
Was there any positive reinforcement?
There was the city commission, several city commissioners corrected or tried to clarify and provide facts.
Mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't describe that as positive,
Mhm.
but it was at least factual.
Mhm. Well, we're pretty aware of the contingent that's opposed
Yeah.
to
Right.
anything.
Right.
I really don't have anything else to report other than I have a call with the city manager this afternoon, and I'll have more information there,
Yeah.
how we move forward.
Has our contingent gone to the hotel owners?
Yes.
And asked them to come to these meetings and counterbalance somewhat the negativity from this small group?
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily represent the city as a whole.
Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber passed a resolution in support of the BRT. The hoteliers, when you talk to them individually, they're supportive. They're not really, I wouldn't describe them as outspoken. Public transit supporters, but we have a strong partnership with Tradewinds where we're carrying lots of their employees to and from work every day. I wouldn't, they are typically not, they do not attend the St. Pete Beach Commission meetings for all sorts of reasons, but it is not the businesses that are opposed to this. It is the residents there. And Witt gave, I thought, the best comment at the last meeting that said that only 18, with some data that he had, only 18% of the workers in St. Pete Beach live in St. Pete Beach. That means 82% of them come from somewhere else.
Right. Let's go from St. Pete.
Right.
But that's not who came to the meeting last night. It was either anti-transit people from other communities or a handful of residents of St. Pete Beach, retirees that don't work.
Is that all south of Don Cesar?
Yeah, yes, mostly. Some people didn't give their address, so I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, we're gonna reconnoiter and try to figure out what we want to do.
Yes.
I have just a couple of things. In last meeting, Member Shulman asked, I thought he had a good idea about having education on the PSTA funding for the general public, and was wondering if anything was put out when flyers on, or any kind of discussion was done for that, because I think a lot of people don't understand how we get our money and what really funds our bus lines. So
that was a really good idea, and we're gonna act on it. We're gonna try to put together some easy to understand information on our website and some paper documents, and then even looking at this idea of, I think it was brought up about like a Citizens Academy kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great idea. And then one thing that's kind of close to my heart is the Clearwater's Intermodal Center. I know there's been some discussions with city staff and PSTA on the site, and I think there's a consultant that's doing a study. Is be ready. Is that in June?
And Ellis County has a consultant, forgetting the name, looking at the site selection.
It's really about,
Does that have to do with the?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a
that would
same study.
include some sort of multimodal center for PSTA.
Yeah.
The feeling that's not gonna happen.
So
We're
it's-
waiting for the consultant.
Okay, so you're talking about the report about the city and the county
Mhm.
having a common.
Yeah.
All right, because I just wanted to make sure that they were covering multiple modes of transportation at the center, like share ride and biking and some other things, instead of just like a bus station, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going that far into transportation issues, but.
That is the study,
Yeah.
that's the study that's underway right now. We have a abstract, you want to
Yeah,
describe what we're doing?
in fact, there are two studies going on. One is a joint use facility
Yes.
study between the city and the county to explore jointly co-locating their offices, and they're looking at multiple sites, including the Clearwater Intermodal site that's owned by the city.
Mhm.
That's been headed by the county.
Yes.
The study that we're doing is for the Clearwater Intermodal site.
Okay, that's the one I was talking about, so.
And we expect to have the study recommendations by June or July. So as part of the design, the site planning, we are looking at multiple modes,
Good.
including share ride, park and ride, a future light rail station perhaps, you know, in the very long term, if we do get light rail, how would that be incorporated into that site? And then also our current Park Street terminal bus operations, how that could be accommodated to this site.
Okay, very good.
What's the timeframe on the report?
June or July.
June or July.
Okay, all right, good.
Okay. Well, I guess that's everything. Do we have anything else we need to talk about? Okay. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Madam.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah, I know, when you asked me what movie was yesterday, I was like, huh. Maybe not all of them, but like.
Oh, I'm very